Hello, everybody, and welcome to this session. Today, we're going to talk about something everybody is talking about right now. The wave of the app Clubhouse hit us, and with us, I mean the European market or the German market from my perspective, quite hard in the last few months. And well, whether this session should or should actually not be placed on Clubhouse is something, well, maybe we find the answer to that one in the next half an hour. My dear guest today is Ben Costantini. He is the co-founder of Startup Sesame, an event expert, a community builder. And if you ask me, he has a very clear view on the event industry. And this is why he's also one of my favorite persons or people to talk to when it comes to new market developments. And I'm really excited to dive a little bit deeper together with him into this Clubhouse atmosphere. So we'll see where this takes us.
PIRATEx Deep Dive. All things remote events.
Welcome, Ben. Happy to see you. Actually seeing you, not only hearing you. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you, Laura.
That sounds very enthusiastic. You're good. No, I'm really happy that we're sharing some thoughts on this topic. Feels like everybody's doing it right now, so we'll see. Maybe we get some unique content out of this one here.
Oh, we scripted, this conversation, so for sure it's going to be better than a random Clubhouse room.
First. Boom, first things first. No, good one. So for everybody who might not have heard about Clubhouse, just that we're all on the same page, it is an app that is a drop-in audio chat platform, basically. But the interesting thing is that you can only join this community or this app by getting in or receiving an invite from an already existing user. So you can imagine the FOMO feeling is quite intense. I just heard that the invites are even sold on eBay right now. So yeah, Ben, first things first, did you get your invite?
Yeah, I got it back in December, so quite late. I didn't want to ask or beg for one, even though I could see a lot of my contacts already, on Clubhouse in the spring last year. Mm-hmm. I didn't ask, so just one day it happened,
It's crazy. It feels like, or at least for me, it's like a just upcoming thing. But actually, Clubhouse is already quite established in the US since I think spring last year.
Yeah.
So I got an invite too. Unfortunately, I do have an iPhone. It's just for iPhone users, but my iOS is too old. So I have to be honest, I am not on it yet. Not yet. So not a first mover when it comes to that, obviously. So Ben, you crossed this first barrier. Congrats on that one. And did you host your first session?
No, I didn't. So I really feel like I'm coming here to speak about it, from a sort of basic user point of view and a listener point of view or a speaker, but I've never hosted any session there. So I'm probably not the best person to ask about, how amazing it is to host sessions over there. But I've spoken to a few who do, and I have, an interesting perspective I hope to share about how these type of platforms can be good for the event industry and, what can we expect or we shouldn't be expecting from such a platform.
But did you think about hosting one? And if so, why didn't you decide not to do it?
Yeah, for sure. So we've been hosting our weekly Coffee with Sesame since the end of March that gathers event organizers on a weekly basis for a 1-hour chat. And it's typically, the type of content that you could host on Clubhouse. Mm-hmm. Because it's very conversational, you expect people to be able to chime in with their question at any time. The main reason why we're not going there is that we do have some presentations and some visual content from time to time. That's something that we cannot post on an audio first or only tool. And the other reason I would say is that obviously for now it's still kind of gated, for iOS user only.
Yeah. Yeah, we, as I said, I didn't host one either, and I also didn't join one. But of course, PIRATEx hosted some conversations on it already, just randomly. And also a lot of my colleagues joined sessions. And just one of them, he was very enthusiastic about it because he was taking part in it was the first one. And he actually, by an accident, also got promoted as a speaker. So I think just this randomly popping in there and saying something was something that made this experience for him very fun and easygoing, was unscripted, and he really enjoyed it. So, but as you said, let's talk about this app in a more general way. When you look at it, like you just said it, it's like not that Clubhouse is offering a lot of new innovative features, is actually offering less that we can do. So it's a no camera breakout room. But what would you say, like in your opinion, which of these obviously not satisfied needs is Clubhouse addressing?
There's been a lot of commentary, so I'm probably using comments from others here. We've been in pajamas doing Zoom call, for already almost a year. So being able to do that on an app that is built and designed for this use case is obviously a relief. I don't need to worry about putting my camera on. It's it's very spontaneous. It's very easy to get promoted as a speaker. So this entire sort of ease of use, like in terms of the user interaction is really brilliant. It's really good. And that's one of their strengths in terms of growth, is that once you get in, you get, to follow people you already kind of follow or, because you have them on your contact book. You get, recommended rooms where your contacts are already. So you have this entire network effect that is built in, and it's superb and it's really working very well. And it's worth mentioning that they are not the only one doing it, that they're actually not the first one to do it. Yeah. As you've, now they just made the announcement of their Series B, you see that Yalla, which is a Clubhouse for the Middle East market, has been around for already a long time, and it's exactly the same type of interface.
So we could say they did a really good job in marketing as well.
Yes.
Because this one, Clubhouse is now like present everywhere, and I've never heard of the other one, for example.
Well, of course, the other one is targeting the Middle East market, so that's probably the reason why. But Clubhouse is the strength in terms of marketing. That's something maybe we discuss a bit more today. Was that it was built initially for this sort of elite bubble in the Silicon Valley. Mm-hmm. So the very first users were investors, founders, celebrities from the tech industry. Who brought in a bunch of other celebrities on board at the very early days when invitations were so limited. You couldn't even get Clubhouse on the App Store, back in April. Yeah. You had to use it, you get it via test flights. So basically, they got, celebrities from the sports, so like NBA athletes, rappers like MC Hammer, joining Clubhouse rooms in April. All that, early hype was very well built, and it's a very strong strategy when you're building a product that get this sort of FOMO feeling so strong that now everybody wanted to get an invite, and that was very early, and that got them sort of a lot of exposure and visibility that went on and on and on. And then in September you have another round of growth with also more challenges and more questions around the fact that it's not moderated and it's very hard to moderate voice. Mm-hmm. And then we're getting to the point where it's opening the door to the European market, which is where we are right now, at a $1 billion valuation.
Yeah, the European market, but talking about this, the marketing, and as you said, they did a brilliant job in how they packaged it, how they framed this whole thing to put celebrities first, and you want to be on the same platform like Ashton Kutcher, so you really want to. But this is when I look at the US market, and now I look at the European market, how it is in our environment, and for me, it more feels like that I'm not actually, talking about diversity on this platform, you said that when you have these celebrity basketball stars, it feels like there is like a very diverse crowd of people using this app. But on the other side, for me, just talking from my perspective, it feels like I'm still stuck in this tech event bubble, because the sessions that Pirate, for example, is focusing on is still the sessions that are addressing the same community as we did before. Would you say this is maybe different in the US compared to how we use it in Europe?
It's a very interesting question. Recently I spotted Jason Calacanis, who was hosting a session on a Clubhouse competitor, if you want to call it, called Capiche.fm, where he was saying that 80 to 90% of their growth is driven by Black culture, with white people taking the benefit. They said this, that's quote unquote. And that was something that I was, kind of noticing, from this sort of European point of view. And it was hard to say, but it's kind of something that is happening there on the early days of the platform that is also a vector of success and growth, is that they managed to sort of do this sort of, I don't know if it's the right word, but positive discrimination, like thinking that how do we avoid, having this tool limited to the bubble of our, the bro in the Silicon Valley tech industry. How do we make it, actually more inclusive, right?
Yeah.
So they were clever to do that in the very early days. And now it's something that you cannot really, you can't criticize them for creating a tool that is appealing to a diverse, audience. But at the same time, and that's a question that Jason was raising, it's like, it's still an app built by, the typical founders from the Valley. I mean, I'm saying this is not fair to the founders themselves, but it's like, this is a cliche of a new social media network built out of the Valley. And we know that it's not, guaranteeing. You cannot really expect that platforms built in Silicon Valley will be fitting the need of our of the next generation, let's say. So actually, the opposite with the recent, what happened with Facebook, Twitter in weeks. You kind of question their impact on our democracy and society as a whole. So it's kind of, this is like maybe a bit too much, to say to a product that's been around for barely a year. But I'm kind of saying, okay, are we sure that this will be an open platform? Are we sure that, we can expect from a product that is built with this mindset that will solve, some of our pressing issues? And can we really give them the benefit of doubt that they are building an open forum, right? Where diverse point of views will be exchanged and that we will grow collectively thanks to a platform like Clubhouse. Yeah. Because those who bet heavily on them, they really think that it's kind of the next generation of social media. Like they really see that as a groundbreaking platform, not just a social media product, but actually a platform that will allow other businesses to create new niches, new verticals. Like I want to create courses, I can do them on Clubhouse. Like this approach is what makes, investors sort of, excited about them.
So it's all, but and then it's also in the responsibility of the users themselves. Maybe it's like easy to say, but to enlarge this diversity, to enlarge the community, it's about how you actually use it and how much you're willing to push yourself outside of your bubble.
No, you're totally right.
Yeah. Another thing you said is that it's so easy. Everybody can say what they want. Everybody can shout out their opinion and has the chance to open up such a session, which is brilliant. It's fantastic. But I'm a little bit struggling with I recently came across a Twitter post, to be more precise. And on that one, it stated that as the platform grows, the lack of structure that virtual events have, pushing it to virtual events, is beginning to show that the quality of content is going down pretty fast. So going from serendipity to randomness. And I would like to push this conversation a little bit into the digital event cosmos, because I think there are a lot of things we can maybe learn from Clubhouse, but on the other side, we experience that as more content you have, as this quote also said, the quality is going down, and then it gets harder for you. I mean, this, the more noise there is, the harder it is to filter. Do you have a...
Yeah, totally.
What?
Yeah, of course. And I was chatting with the head of comms at the VC fund about it. I mean, I didn't want, but he brought it up, and it's like, everybody's talking about Clubhouse in our little bubble. And it was, beautiful. Like, his point of view is like, he's so mad, because all the partners are there. And it's like another social network where VCs are losing their time, Like, that was his word, It's like, it's very engaging, and it's like, of course, VCs are like, oh, I love this, I can go there,
it's for
jump
free.
in, and yeah, it's free. I can throw my, knowledge bombs, and it's for him, it's sending a bad message to founders to whom you're telling, you shouldn't spend, time at events or building up your brand. You need to be focused on, building your product. But then, the VCs are out there on Clubhouse spending hours, every day. So that was a very interesting point. The other point, that I think, from his point of view was, I found it relevant, is that it's not well scripted. You have a large amount of young VC, like entry level, investors who are there, and they don't really provide a lot of added value from a content point of view because it's not scripted. If you want to do good audio, like this podcast, it takes time to do. You have to write, I have a script in front of my eyes when I'm looking at what we want to talk about, so that this content is going to be valuable. So of course, we're seeing that it's getting more professional. It will continue to improve over time. You can, see that some, hosts on Clubhouse are doing a great job at, really preparing their sessions, that the content value is getting higher. But like from a marketing point of view, it's still very, it's still a question for anybody like an investor, for example, or comms director at the VC firm. What am I getting out of it? What is the value there? Like, I cannot really build an audience out of this. The audience is being kept by the platform itself, the same as it is on, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. So it's a bit like also Substack, in that sense.
Yeah.
I would rather build, my audience in an environment that I can control. And that's coming back to the virtual event space. It's a similar question when we had discussions, together with Pirate, co-founder about the future of events. And I was questioning how we should, as event organizer, position ourselves in front of the ownership of our data, our knowledge, our audiences, that new virtual event platforms are kind of challenging because I'm not owning that data anymore, the way I could own it when I was hosting it in a physical venue that I was renting. So this is a similar, approach there, and that's an open question. So for kind of all the hype that you see, do you want to contribute to that hype, right? It's like, a bunch of people who are still not using Zoom because they're concerned about security issues. Well, they might be right, to still be concerned,
Yeah, but as you said, it's for the VCs, why? And I'm thinking, I'm just thinking, who, when we're talking a little bit about numbers, who is getting the most out of this platform? Do you understand? What's the business model of Clubhouse?
Well, they unveiled a bunch of things recently with their new founding round of 100 million.
Yeah, of course, we see money. Yeah.
Now they're talking about monetization, and they are focusing on the creators economy. So basically, they are positioning Clubhouse as a way or the tool or platform for creators to monetize their audiences. So putting subscriptions behind, rooms, putting ticketing behind rooms or events that are hosted in rooms, allowing course creators, to run things over there. So the business model that is communicated right now by the Clubhouse team is around the creators economy. Okay. That's where they see their product, evolving in the future.
But that sounds a lot like that barrier to simply go on there and drop your thoughts and your ideas will increase, will get higher, and will not stay that low.
No, you're right. The most popular profiles or users on Clubhouse have around 1 million followers already, which is insane. It means that, they have 2.5 million users and 2 million active, a week. And out of this, some of the very early users got, kind of anything between 500,000 to 1 million followers. So those, early users, like you could, of course, build a business with such a following, similar to other platforms, are allowing it. But if it's without ads, it means that the quality of your content and the way you are building your community, so bringing that word, into the conversation. We haven't used the word community until now. How you bring your community to Clubhouse will be the biggest, challenge here. And if you look at what Yalla is doing, so Yalla, the one in the Middle East, it's not at all their business model. Their business model is it's a consumer app with like different options that are linked to in-app payments with advertising, plugged to it. And they launched a new product that is basically for gambling and gaming.
Okay. So the fun factor is quite high.
Yeah, because they were like, oh, this works very well for conversation and community and gathering. What else can we offer to users that will create the same level of, engagement and attention? How can we steal, hours of the time of our users? How can we get their attention further? Oh, gambling. Let's do that.
Yeah, but this is something, we're talking about gamification and playfulness a lot also when looking at the like more classical digital conferences. And this is maybe something we can transfer, or we should transfer from Clubhouse or this other platform that you just mentioned, because it feels like, and that this is something I identify as the unsatisfied needs that Clubhouse is satisfying to a certain extent, is that people are missing this easygoing content, the spontaneous coming across somebody and to unexpectedly get some cool insights that they did not plan. And when we look at digital event experiences in a more classical way, it feels like it's still too stiff. It's, as you said, still too structured, still too planned, and the spontaneous way is missing. So this is something I would like to try to transfer to the digital events we're producing as well. In a certain extent. I don't know how it should be yet, but it was funny because this quote I just started with had another part, and it said, in a perfect world, Clubhouse would have had an open API to feed attendees from virtual event platforms to a room for breakout or social activities. It's like, for me, it's like I want to combine this classical way with this more playful way to actually get some real value out of it and create these spontaneous happenings. Yeah, but it's interesting. Anything else that you would say we can transfer? How can we get this Clubhouse vibe to a normal digital conference? Yeah,
no, one of the I would say that building a similar experience with a virtual event, I don't think it's such a big deal. Like, I don't think it's hard to do from a user experience point of view. There's already a bunch of apps that are doing the same as Clubhouse without the community side so strong. That without depending so much on their existing audience, where you can bring your own audience type of thing. One of them is called Shulk, right? And
what's it called?
Shulk, like a chalkboard, CHALK.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm trying to say here is that if I'm a virtual event platform, I can build that functionality. Like, it's harder to embed good video streaming inside a virtual event platform than have audio. So the main question here is again the same: is do I want to get Clubhouse audience, or do I want to serve my audience? Because if that's what I want to get, what's what I want to achieve, then I don't really need Clubhouse per se. Like, if I need Clubhouse to tap into other audiences, like my audience, for example, because if I bring a breakout room to Clubhouse during a virtual event, all my attendees, who I'm assuming have already a Clubhouse account, when they join that room, their connections can see that this room is happening and can join the room as well. So this is kind of, the added value that I get out of Clubhouse. If it's to host intimate, breakout rooms with just audio, there's no need to use Clubhouse per se. And one more piece just quickly about the Open API. If anybody is listening to this show and wants to talk about an Open API, please reach out, because that's a huge, question that we're trying to address in our, daily work. The general message being that no one in the events industry currently has an interest on building anything in the open in terms of data. It's quite the opposite. There is very limited amount of virtual event solutions that have an open API, and thinking that, Clubhouse, in the perfect world, we have an open API to feed attendees for virtual event platforms. Like, no one wants that, so why would Clubhouse do it? If not, event organizers don't want it. Virtual event, platforms don't want it either. So why would Clubhouse do that? It's like you're just dreaming. If you come back to the real, sort of market and how people are behaving around data, they're locking everything as much as they can.
But
just to mention a few, like SwapCard, for example, has an open API, and it's not, I'm not like a big SwapCard, ambassador. Just a fact that they have an open API. I can mention a couple more who do, and it's the exception to the rule, like Tito, TicketBuzz, Eventful, EventMobi, Attendify. Those are the ones that come to mind when we talk about Open API. And I'm quoting on this Julius Solaris, who I was, asking him about this fact, Because everybody's talking open and data, but no one is doing it.
But this data is a good keyword. I mean, it's like, it's fun and Clubhouse is great, but this... what did I want to say? Like, there are also a lot of critical voices coming up to that topic, like data protection, as you just said. And it feels like the app was produced or launched with knowing all these issues. We know that there is like a data security problem, also talking about topics you should not talk about, to control like what content is played on this app. These problems are nothing new, but still the app got launched, even though we were aware that these problems might occur, simply because obviously it works. And I mean, that's a funny part. It works. And talking about data protection, for me, it feels like in the big, like the general environment, politics and so on, and in our society, we're really, really hard on this. But as soon as it comes to our personal consumption of things, it feels like nobody cares.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Something that I'd like to mention, because, I'm being like the grumpy Ben, like you invite me to complain about technology all the time,
I know you're a very innovative person on technology,
no,
so
please.
don't put that shoe on.
I just want to say something that I think it's worth, sharing here, is that a lot of the early users or hosts of Clubhouse communities are kind of a younger generation of, makers, builders, entrepreneurs, investors, culture figures, artists, et cetera, creators, right? Which is kind of the umbrella brand that you use for anyone who's creating content online nowadays. And that is something that you could expect, something positive coming out of it. So it's like, if the most influential users of the platform come with a different mindset, because they are, I'm not talking about the age, only, but they definitely are coming from a different sort of background, culturally, business-wise, et cetera, then maybe that platform would do something differently. Like, compared to the previous generation of social media platforms that were built by an older or a different, mindset, different generation. So just like, I want to give it the benefits of doubt, because I see among the most popular hosts or, accounts on Clubhouse, people I know personally, and I know that they have sort of high standards when it comes to what they want to achieve working in technology, and it's to have a positive impact, et cetera, et cetera. But it's the same that every, evil company out of Silicon Valley wants to do. They really want to have a good impact on the planet, but at the end, they don't really. So I just want to say, that could be, that they actually, do something differently down the line.
Yeah, and I mean, we just experienced, I experienced it myself without Clubhouse. The trend of audio only is like we're doing a podcast here as well. So this is really nice, because it also gets you away from the screen. I just talked to another speaker, and she was like, I can like perceive all the stuff that is happening around me. I can take a walk and still like focus internally on the content that I'm getting presented. And this is something that is really great. And I mean, Clubhouse itself gives us the easy access to that. You don't have to sign up for anything. You're just on this app, you get the push, you see it, and you can just hop in, basically. And people are lazy. We know this. And it is easy. And as you said, maybe there is like a really big thing coming up that will work differently than some other social media platforms. But Ben, to wrap it up, just like in short, what would you say, what is the biggest risk on one side, and to not keep it too negative, what would you say also is the biggest potential we're seeing when looking at Clubhouse?
I would say we mentioned it earlier, and I didn't use that word until now. That I believe that now everybody wants to be a speaker,
Yeah.
And I think that it's actually a risk. Like I don't think that it's good per se that everybody can speak. Like I'm not saying this from a totalitarian fascist point of view at all. Please, I'm saying this from a conference organizer point of view. Good content is hard to do. Being a good speaker it takes time, to become one. So if Clubhouse allows people to sort of, break out because they feel more comfortable doing it without, the pressure of the stage, the lights, the audience, all that, that can be a huge barrier of entry for a lot of people. That will be amazing. If I get to identify new, voices and new, leaders in terms of ideas and messages out of this platform, I'm all in.
Yep.
Right now, what I see is like 80% noise from people who actually have nothing to say, like they haven't built anything, that deserve to be shared, with an audience. And there is already a bunch of scam happening there. People saying they're VCs, charging founders to go and pitch, on a room. All of this, behavior that exists in, our, business and our industry is already there. So it's kind of, the risk and the benefits from an event point of view, for example, will be definitely on this angle. Like, how do we make sure that because it's giving a room for everybody to speak, we keep, the quality of the content at the level of standards that we expect from a podcast, for example, or from a conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good proof of concept. Everybody wants to be a speaker, but not everybody should be a speaker. I really like this. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
From an event organizer point of view, it is obvious,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good one. I think this is a really nice wrap up, and as I said, I think the need for people getting together in a spontaneous way, like consuming insights in an easygoing, casual vibe, and to that they might get something out there that surprises them, that they didn't expect. This is something that has like huge potential, and if it's framed right, we'll see where it takes us. I'll get on there and try it out myself, and Ben, maybe I don't know, we'll see another session on Clubhouse or not. For the right thing, the right people, it is the right thing.
Anytime, you need me to criticize a new innovation, you know where to find me, okay?
I know. That's why I kicked this off. This is why I kicked off this conversation with you, because as I said, you're my favorite person to talk to when it comes to new developments in the event industry. Thank you so much, Ben, for sharing your thoughts and your insights with us today.
Thank you for having me, Laura.
And thanks everybody for listening. Yeah, as I said, we'll see if the next deep dive session will be live on Clubhouse as well, but we will definitely stick with it in this podcast format. So yeah, take care and thank you for listening. Bye.
PIRATEx Deep Dive. All things remote events.